An Israeli strike on Gaza kills a top Islamic Jihad commander as violence between the two sides continues to escalate.
Belgian MEP Mark Tarabella speaks following his release from jail over the European Parliament corruption scandal.
Greek political leaders go head-to-head on the first televised election debate in 8 years before the country goes to the polls on May 21st. 16 acts will battle it out in Eurovision's second semi-final on Thursday, with Austria, Australia and Slovenia likely to qualify.
The group Palestinian Islamic Jihad has confirmed an Israeli airstrike on an apartment block in the Gaza Strip on Thursday morning killed one of its top members and 2 colleagues. The Israeli military said Ali Ghali was the chief of Jihad's rocket squad. The latest violence comes a day after Israeli strikes on Gaza killed 3 top Islamic Jihad militants and 12 others, including 4 children, according to Palestinian officials. On Wednesday, Israel's Iron Dome air defense system intercepted hundreds of rockets launched from the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army and militants are continuing to trade heavy cross-border fire amid the worst escalation of violence to hit the region in months. Although most of the rockets from Gaza are intercepted, a number got through, causing significant damage. The Office of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres voiced deep concern over the violence and warned Israel it must adhere to international law. He also condemned the indiscriminate launching of rockets from Gaza into Israel. Egypt, a frequent mediator between the sides, reportedly brokered a ceasefire, but truce efforts appeared to falter as fighting intensified late on Wednesday.
Je vois mon visage à la une du JT. Tous les soirs. Mon nom est partout. Le nom que porte ma famille, ma maman, ma femme, ma sœur, ma fille, mon fils, qui eux non plus n'ont jamais mérité cela.
In tears, as this Belgian MEP describes his life since he was accused of being involved in the corruption scandal that has rocked the European Parliament. Mark Tarabella is awaiting trial, but the Belgian authorities decided to release him from his obligation to be under electronic surveillance. It's a status he's taken advantage of to explain his version of events, from the unexpected search at his home to his days in jail.
Des policiers nombreux arrivent à la maison, accompagnés du juge d'instruction et de ma présidente d'assemblée, Madame Metsola, pour une perquisition. Je suis stupéfait, abasourdi. Ma femme et mon fils sont sous le choc. Les policiers me disent qu'ils doivent procéder à la perquisition. Ils m'expliquent qu'ils cherchent de l'argent liquide, voire des objets de luxe. Je ne comprends pas quel argent, je n'ai rien à me reprocher. Et puis c'est l'horreur. Je passe plusieurs mois en prison. La prison, c'est pas facile. C'est pas facile pour un coupable, mais encore pire pour un innocent.
He also says he feels betrayed by a man he considered a friend, accused former MEP Pier Antonio Panzeri, who's cooperating with the police, giving them a lot of information.
Tout ça sur la seule base de dire d'un homme qui aurait admis par la suite être à la tête d'une organisation criminelle et qui a jeté mon nom en pâture pour espérer ne pas être dévoré. On a tous un jour été déçus par un ami qui vous a menti.
According to the Belgian MEP's lawyer, Tarabella will have to respond to any police checks, not leave Belgium without prior agreement, and avoid contacting the other people charged in the case. All 6 of them have been released from jail and are awaiting trial.
Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has admitted the recent wiretapping scandal involving Pegasus spyware and an opposition leader was wrong. His comments came amid a televised debate ahead of the first round of national elections on May 21st. Neighbours Turkey are also preparing to go to the polls, and Mitsotakis insists he is ready to speak to whoever is elected.
Θα σεβαστούμε απόλυτα την κρίση του τουρκικού λαού και προφανώς, εφόσον εμπιστευτεί και πάλι ο ελληνικός λαός, είμαι διατεθειμένος να συνομιλήσω όπως το έκανα μέχρι σήμερα με οποιονδήποτε επιλέξει ο τουρκικός λαός. Όμως θέλω να τονίσω, κυρία Ζαχαρέα, ότι ο τουρκικός αναθεωρητισμός, έτσι όπως εκφράστηκε μέσα από το δόγμα της γαλάζιας πατρίδας, ειδικά τα τελευταία χρόνια, θεωρώ ότι είναι βαθιά συστημικά καταγεγραμμένο στο DNA όλων των τουρκικών κομμάτων. Προφανώς και θα τίνω χείρα φιλίας και προφανώς και είμαι πάντα έτοιμος να συζητήσω για τη μία βασική διαφορά την οποία έχουμε με την Τουρκία, που είναι η οριοθέτηση των θαλασσίων ζωνών στο Αιγαίο και στην Ανατολική Μεσόγειο. Όμως δεν έχω αυταπάτες, γι' αυτό και επιμένω ότι η πολιτική της ισχυρής αποτροπής, των ισχυρών συμμαχιών, μιας Ελλάδος με αυτοπεποίθηση, πρέπει να συνεχιστεί σε κάθε περίπτωση.
Opposition Syriza leader Alexis Tsipras was asked about the Greek defence industry.
Η φύλαξη των συνόρων είναι κάτι το οποίο είναι αυτονόητο. Και πρέπει να σας πω ότι εμείς ήμασταν κυβέρνηση και υπήρχε φράχτης, δεν τον κρεμίσαμε. Ούτε θα πάμε αντίθετα με τις εισηγήσεις των ανθρώπων που γνωρίζουν και εισηγούνται στην πολιτική ηγεσία τι πρέπει να κάνει για να υπάρχει έλεγχος στα σύνορα. Όμως δεν θα κοροϊδέψουμε τους πολίτες. Το μεταναστευτικό προσφυγικό δεν θα λυθεί με τους φράχτες. Όπου υπάρχουν, ας υπάρχουν, καλώς υπάρχουν, αλλά θα λυθεί με μια διεκδίκηση διαφορετική σε ευρωπαϊκό επίπεδο.
The Greek Watergate-style scandal and immigration aside, all political leaders expressed their views on the economy, defence, education, health and the environment. According to the polls, Mitsotakis' ruling New Democracy Party is neck and neck with Syriza.
One of the largest modern and contemporary art museums in the world, Paris's Pompidou Centre is to close for 5 years for renovations from 2025. Its groundbreaking inside-out structure that displays pipework on the outside has suffered serious wear and tear. It's the building's first major upgrade and will cost €262 million to update its structure for fire safety, disability access and general repairs. The Pompidou houses work by renowned artists including Picasso and Kandinsky. Thousands mourning the recent death of Brazilian singer Rita Lee joined a wake inside Sao Paulo's Planetarium, a venue the 75-year-old wrote about in her memoirs and often visited. Having sold over 55 million records worldwide, Lee left a lasting mark with her irreverence, creativity and compositions containing messages that helped introduce Brazilian society to feminism. President Lula said she was one of the biggest and most brilliant names in Brazilian music and was ahead of her time.
Please welcome your hosts, who are all united by music.
10 acts have already made it through to Saturday's Eurovision final in Liverpool, and now just 10 spots remain. Sweden and Finland emerged as fan favourites in the first semi-final, while Ireland were eliminated.
My highlight was Norway. Yeah, definitely.
Mine was cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha.
Fans eagerly anticipate the second semi-final on Thursday night, where 16 more acts will compete for their spot in the grand final of the world's biggest song contest. Austria's Taya and Selena with their catchy track Who the Hell is Edgar, and Slovenia's Joker Out are among the acts expected to make it through. But uncertainty still remains further down the participant list. Beyond the main stage, the city of Liverpool is abuzz with excitement as a huge number of events celebrating Eurovision and Ukrainian culture take place.
So we are here at the Solidarity Disco Banquet, dancing, we've been singing, and while we were doing that, we were also chopping some vegetables, prepping some food, and we're about to sit down and enjoy the food together. It's a mixture of food from Liverpool, but also food from Ukraine.
In the West, the war in Ukraine is perceived as aggressive, invasive and accompanied by numerous crimes against humanity. And initially, some Russians openly shared similar sentiments. Anti-war protests in the country were relatively prominent in the first months after the full-scale invasion began, but then died down rather quickly. Many citizens see what's happening as a just war against the collective West, which is exactly what Putin wants them to think.
The Soviet Union era played a huge role in unteaching people how to think for themselves and be critical. They didn't have time to learn how to be critical thinkers, how to be independent thinkers. They did not have time to realize that you can question those in power, and that's normal.
In addition, contemporary Russian propaganda is strikingly different from Soviet propaganda. Although it uses much of the same traditional ideology, the technical approach is completely different. So even if there is experience of countering Soviet propaganda, it doesn't necessarily work against the current narrative.
Конечно, современная пропаганда в России во многом более эффективна, чем советская пропаганда, потому что, во-первых, она учитывает, что люди могут получать информацию из разных источников, и она старается представлять картину не такой, какой обязательно было бы выгодно властям, но такой, какая картина нравится самим гражданам.
According to experts Euronews spoke to, it's possible many Russians don't fall for the state propaganda. They simply fear to express their position because they're scared of repercussions and persecution. But it's not only fear that's preventing Russian citizens speaking out, it's also disappointment and apathy. Deep disillusionment with the Soviet regime, as well as the so-called democracy in the 1990s, has shaped Russians' apoliticism, especially as many think the war doesn't affect them.
Ситуация, видимо, выглядит так, что значительная часть граждан, большинство или нет, трудно сказать, но значительная часть граждан не хочет войны, но в то же время их не настолько волнует эта война, чтобы они активно выступили против нее.